G'day everyone, welcome to the Big Footy Eagles podcast for another week. Coming up on the show, we are celebrating a huge win over Richmond, and a celebration it shall be because it was a fantastic win for the West Coast Eagles. We'll also do a mid-season review. Of course, we're talking heroes and villains as well. I'm your host, Honeybadger35. Hello. Joining me this week, once again, Miguel Sanchez. Migs, how good is football?
Not very good, by the
way.
way.
Bloody good, yeah. What are we, 4 days after?
Here he is.
Sure. Can you hear me?
We got ya.
I disappeared.
Hello. This is off through a fucking ripping start.
What are we, 4 days later? And, hello. Start again. Take it from the top. I'm good. I was going to have a joke there about how excited I was, but I think we're past it.
No, we'll never be past it. It was big time. It was a big time win. Also joining us on the show, Keys. Keys, hopefully we've got you, and hopefully you can give us a little bit of a rundown of how you're feeling over the last couple of days. Big week for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think I can speak for most West Eagles fans, if not all, when I say how fucking good was that.
Not for the faint of heart this show. I reckon there's going to be a little bit of effing and jeffing and all of that good stuff because I'm fired up. Some of the fans were fired up as well. A few fiery 3-word reviews. We've got a couple of people jumping in the comments already. Fantastic to see everybody on the show. Really hope to see you. Share the show around, tell a mate. Get in the comments, have your say. It's a celebration. This is a party. Share the show. I want everybody in on this. Any Eagles fan that wants to come and give one up Richmond or say how good are the boys, send them our way. This is fantastic. Gents, we might as well crack on and talk about the Richmond game. That was the big story. It was a big bloody game. Migs, we'll start with you. We'll get into it right now. West Coast Eagles, 13 goals, 7, 85. Defeated Richmond 12-9, 81. Migs, as I said, you can lead us off. Some great goal kicking kept the Eagles in it. And then in that last quarter, things just got wild.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Most exciting thing I think about it, and a lot of positives to take out of it, but the fact that we got 22 points down in that last quarter and fought back, where that's what we didn't see earlier in the season. When Bolton kicked that goal, put them 22 points up, it felt to me at least like that was probably it. We'd put up a good fight, and we'd taken it up to the reigning premiers in a game that people didn't give us much of a chance in. From that point on, we dominated play, we dominated territory, locked the ball in our forward half. Probably could have retaken the lead sooner because we missed a couple of shots. Nick Nat missed a pretty easy one. Allen missed a pretty easy one, a controversial free kick. Obviously just setting it up for the big grandstand finish. Just dominated that last 10, 15 minutes, which was the most pleasing, I thought. And then, otherwise, there's plenty of other positives we can talk about from that game. But, just great. One of the greats. We'd probably talk, I suppose, about where it fits in the recent great finishes. Definitely one of the best, if not the best, home and away wins that I've been there for.
And bloody loud as well. Fantastically loud. We will get onto it. Look, it's a bye week this week, guys, so we might as well spend some more time on this opening game. Why wouldn't you want to spend time on a game like that? I'll go through some 3-word reviews here, Keys, before I bring you in for your thoughts. Thank you to everybody that sends these through on Facebook, Twitter. Jump in the comments now. Hit us up with your 3-word review now as well. Matt can lead us off. He said, fight, fight, fight. Fiona says, a gutsy win. Renee said, never give up. Bit of a theme here, and I love it. Tim said, you bloody beauty. Yeah, fantastic stuff, Tim. Sam said, leaders stand tall. Now, we'll circle back to that one because that's an important point there from Sam. John, never say die. Jimmy says, top 4 alive. And Keys, you'll like this one. Lee just said, fuck off Richmond. How good was that?
Yeah, beautiful. Really nice to get one over them. Fun fact, the last 4 years, whoever's won the home and away game between Richmond and West Coast has won the premiership that year. So, lock it in. We're on.
Get the tattoos now.
Yeah. Just a really, really good game of footy. Set aside the result. I mean, we won, which makes it, that much better. But, that was just a cracking game of footy. I mean, Richmond I mean, both sides will probably look at the review and say there was things they could do better, but I think both sides were, had a real crack. Both sides had a few players out from their best 22, but I think Richmond will take a bit away from that game, and we can take a heap away from that. One of the really pleasing things was the way a couple of our young guys really stood up. Foley and Harry Edwards in the first half in particular were really good and showed some composure and maturity beyond their 3 games or 4 games experience that they had coming in. And Luke Edwards, who we spoke about last week, had a good game against Sydney. And was
good.
Solid. He was solid through the first 3 quarters, and in the last quarter, he when the whips were really cracking, he stood up in a big way. It's been a long time since we've had a second gamer put in a sort of effort like that in a big game against quality opposition. He really stood up. So I think that was a really big takeaway from the game that, those 3 young guys in particular really, really stood up and made a contribution.
Migs, you said we'll circle back to sort of where this fits, and indeed we will spend a bit of time on the Richmond game, I think. But the last couple of weeks, definitely on the night, sorry, I shouldn't say last couple of weeks, I should say last couple of days. Definitely on the night, but in the days since, I've been thinking about sort of where that fits for me and sort of why you get into footy and getting invested in watching sport and this sort of thing. Because statistically, your team is not going to win the grand final every year. They're definitely not going to win every week. In any given year, no matter how good your team is, there's a much higher likelihood than not that ultimately you won't win it. So what's the point of getting into it if you're not going to be able to ride the highs and all of that? That is about as high as it gets. Optus was so loud on the Kennedy goal that I honestly thought it was collapsing. There was this drum sound effect coming through the speaker, and I thought it was something downstairs collapsing. That is the moment that you get into footy for, where you got 50-odd thousand people, and they're all there to see one guy do one thing, and he steps up to the plate and does it, and everyone goes nuts. It was just, that's why you get into sport. Just what a fantastic day that was.
Yeah, and we've been pretty privileged, I think, to have a fair few of those sort of moments over the journey and even in the last few years. Some of them have come away, unfortunately. I was lucky enough to be at a couple of them. Nick Nats against GWS in 2016, just before he did his knee, and Port with Gov's flower bag punt. To win it. They've come away, but we've had some good ones at home as well. Yeah, the atmosphere at Optus is just fantastic, isn't it? And yeah, I don't know if you could hear the siren when it sounded from where you were, but I struggled.
Not at all. I went off everybody. I knew there was 30-ish seconds left on the last set ball up, and so I was trying to keep track of that in my head. And when Hearn marked it, I thought, well, he's got 15-odd seconds, so that'll be it. Yeah. But no, I just went when everybody else went. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, pretty much. And even watching it back, I watched that last quarter back, and even on the TV, you struggle to hear it. So, yeah, it was great atmosphere. We've had some really good ones at Optus and some really loud moments, but, yeah, that was right up there.
Cameron here, jumping on Twitter. Thank you very much, Cameron. 3-word review. He said Crows recruiters cooked it. Well, he said cooked, but I'll say cooked it. And boy, did they, because, there's going to be a lot of Luke Edwards talk, I reckon, today, in the future, coming up. It's just fantastic to see a little bit of youth coming through in the midfield. Keys, I noticed your name there. You've got West Coast Seagulls 25 defeated the Salt Miners 15. Now, that wasn't the score, so I'm wondering if you've got a couple of comments to say about the whistleblowers, the people in the middle there on the weekend.
That's the end free kick count. And, I think, watching there was, as with most games, there was a few decisions could go either way and things like that. I reckon if they picked up every free kick, it'd be like 50-20. Richmond, if you have a look at the stat, Richmond have got the biggest free kick differential in the league. They are way down the bottom. They're well behind everybody else. Now, because of that, you shouldn't be surprised if you lose the free kick out because you're a bunch of dirty cheating pricks. That's why you're behind and you give away for the free kicks. Don't push people in the back of the contest. Don't throw the ball. Just fucking accept it. You're a bunch of cheats and you don't get caught for half of what you do. And it's a reason, as part of the reason why they're so successful is they do push the envelope. And I think we spoke about it last week.
We did. It's that bad boys thing.
Reference to Boston Celtics, you know.
Detroit.
You go hard knowing full well that they're only going to pick up, you know, a third, if that, of the free kicks. And more often than not, you're going to win more contests by doing those sorts of things than you are losing ones because the umpires pull you up.
It also moves the curve slightly. They go, well, I didn't give that as a free last time, and this incident's the same as that incident, so this isn't a free. Play on. Over time, they know the ump's not going to call. The umpires don't want to be, as much as we accuse them, they don't want to be the stars of the show. They don't want to blow the whistle 60 times and be known as that umpire that gave away 50, 60 free kicks. So they let some stuff go and they grade every game on a bit of a curve.
I think out of all the free kicks...
There's one exception to that.
Oh, yeah, well... G'day, Rose, if you're watching.
We've got one free kick that I can think of off the top of my head that was a real stinker, and that was the dangerous tackle on Oscar Allen.
Never in a million years is that a dangerous tackle.
It wasn't a
But it was in the back, wasn't it?
You look at it and you think
maybe
it could have. If you had said it was in the back, you could possibly defend it. Maybe. I mean, it should have just been play on. But yeah, calling that one a dangerous tackle was a bit of a stretch. But I can't think of too many others that we got that I mean...
Just on the dangerous tackle case, though, real quick.
Penalty.
Rotham.
Rotham breathed on him. I mean, Rotham did everything he could to not, you know, hit him. In the last quarter, Oscar Allen took a mark. Liam Baker ripped his head off and dragged him to the ground after the mark was taken. And it's just like, I mean, it didn't matter because Aussie kicked the goal.
So on that, while we're talking Aussie keys, just quickly, the dangerous tackle is the one that I've seen Tigers fans pissed off about, if not the length of the mark, the Kennedy mark at the end. Dangerous tackle is the one I've seen pissed off about. I even saw somebody say that's what cost them the game. Oscar Allen kicked a fucking point. He kicked a point, and then the Tigers kicked the next 3 goals and went up 22 points. So spare me it swung momentum. You kicked the next 3 goals, boys. You're up 22 with 10 minutes left in a footy game. It was a shocking call. I know it was a shocking call. I don't think it was in the bat. Bad umpiring decision. He duly did the right thing. Ball don't lie. He kicked a point, and you guys went on, you know, merrily kicked 3 more goals. Get over it.
Momentum swung well after that. So
Jesus,
it's just touching on how it was a good game and everything like that. I think unfortunately I wasn't there, so I didn't get to watch it, but. I didn't even listen to it. I didn't even watch it live because I was working. So I watched I was excited when I just saw the score at the end of the game. So I can only imagine what it was like to watch it live. The actual vision of the crowd and everything like that after Kennedy kicked the goal. Was really spine-stinging stuff. The way Kennedy reacted to the crowd, the camera of the wide shots of the crowd all jumping up, and there was the crowd standing on the feet, and then on the coverage. The good thing with it, because it was a Channel 7 broadcast, there's that 30 seconds where they're not live to air because it's an ad break. So the commentators actually just shut up, and on the replay when you watch it, all you have is an aerial shot of Optus Stadium and the roar of the crowd, and it's just fucking brilliant. It's just you go back and you watch it, and it's just really, really good to watch. And the way Hutto nailed that the call, bends it, doing his best James Brayshaw impersonation. Commentators don't always get it right, but I reckon the call of that goal, even though I called it as Hutto in the big footy,
never living that down.
I'm not going to get that. I'm never going to live that down because it was James Brayshaw. That was a really good call.
We've had a question here in the comments about what I'm drinking. Sorry, it's not Jack Daniels. I'm not any of the hard stuff. It's vanilla Coke. There you go. Breakfast of Champions. So, Coke, if you want to get on board with the boys, I know they've had a rough week because Ronaldo snubbed them. We'll have it. We'll have that Coke money. Great call by Committee here from Sal.
Yeah, Sally Benjamin, whoever you are. Yeah, rusty spot.
In strife. Migs, we've sort of danced around talking about the goal. You know, maybe we've talked about the moment and all of that. But let's talk about the man. Josh Kennedy, 4 goals. He's done it again, and how many times have people written him off as on the decline and, you know, it's time for player X, player Y to step up, take over from him. Josh Kennedy won't be here next week, next year, whatever it might be. He had a week off. He didn't travel. He stayed in Perth and he relaxed. Came out, game-winning performance, phenomenal stuff. Josh Kennedy evolved. Awesome, awesome game from the big boy.
Yeah, and it wasn't just his goal kicking. He moved a lot better than I've seen in a long time, I think. And there was a couple of times where he sort of ran past Campbell and then kicked it inside 50 like he was a midfielder.
Bouncing and
yeah, it's
weaving.
amazing to see that. And so, yeah, sort of stuff you wouldn't have expected from a key forward, even at his prime, let alone his mid-30s. So, yeah, he was fantastic. I thought some of the other older guys were really good as well. Hearn sort of he took those intercept marks late in the game, but just all the way through, he was shut up, dog. All the way through, he was a lot more assured than he's looked the last couple of weeks. Redden's back in 2018 form. Nick Nat, Chol played well, I thought, against him, but Nick Nat just goes into beast mode and he's unstoppable and could have had 2 goals. Tom Barras had a really underrated game as well, I think, playing on Rewalt and cutting everything off. So, yeah, that was the other really pleasing thing about the win for me was that we not only did we fight back at the end, but we got performances from those experienced guys as well as the youngsters like Edwards and Foley.
Rod's just asked us there, was the role different? I wonder, Keys, if they had some success with Ryan out of the goal square the week before, maybe they went to that. Ryan was quiet, Darling was quiet as well, but I wonder if they're a little bit happier to push some guys a bit further up the field and play Ryan a bit deeper.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but Kennedy certainly moved up out of the ground, further up the ground than he's done for a while. It was good to see.
Over to you, Keys. I don't know what's going on with Migs.
Yeah, he's pushed up the ground and he's very effective at it. I'm not quite sure if that was a tactic going in or just the way the game sort of evolved. Certainly, the Richmond defence put a lot of work into Darling. I mean,
doubles.
Laston sort of wore him like a glove, but he was often double teamed and was sort of, pressured out of marking contests and things like that. I've heard, I can't remember if it was either Simpson himself or maybe Kennedy, that they do say they work between themselves to work out, if someone's hot or someone's getting double teamed, they'll work between themselves to get one of them off the chain. And this game was Kennedy that was the one that ran Bolter around pretty ragged. And, was he 33 or 34, the runner? I mean, Bolter's a bit of an athletic beast and Kennedy led him a merry dance. So I think tactically we had a bit of a win there. I think even though Darling had a quiet game, and as you say, Ryan was fairly well held also. I think one of the things from the game that it was really interesting watching the way the team structured up, and from a tactical battle, I think both sides forced the other to do things they didn't really like to do. I mean, Richmond had a lot more longer kicks down the line than what certainly did in the Essendon game. They did get the ball through the middle at times, running through handball, but not anywhere near as much as what they usually do. Conversely, we weren't able to get our kick mark game going, and the switch across half back, we weren't able to do. Oddly enough, what that did do was it forced us to use the ball down the corridor a fair bit more, and we were really effective when we did that. So it was, from a strategic point of view, it was really really interesting battle watching the coaches go out. And I think in the end, I think Simpson had a bit of a points win over Hardwick in that regard.
You went to Dreamtime last week, Keys, and you came to us and told us what to look for with Richmond. It was really interesting watching at the game. And you called it beautifully, not to blow smoke, but Dusty doesn't cross halfway. The second we got a clearance, he would drop back to full forward. Rewalt might press up, or maybe he would share the deepest spot with Rewalt. He's not interested. He's not running past the wing. And that allowed Yo to get off a little bit. Redden got plenty of the footy as well. So it also caused Migs, guys like Nelson, guys like Hearn, to have to take a turn on Dustin Martin, which you don't want, I know, but nonetheless, I actually didn't think he was that good despite what the AFL ratings might say. Bobbed up and kicked a good goal, two in fact. But, yeah, didn't really think he was as impactful as I've seen Dustin Martin. But another thing that Keys nailed, Migs, was that halfway setup where they block you in the forward 50, they set up a wall, and they don't get, you can't really get past it. As he's pointed out there, we went really direct. Guys like Foley kicking aggressively into the middle of the ground. Yo just thumping it as far as he could. A little bit of a tactically different game, but yeah, Simo probably takes the points.
Yeah, and it's good to get that sort of win against Richmond and yeah, be able to throw our game plan around a little bit and show that we can play a different way and we can win a different way. It's interesting as well that the last couple of weeks have been two of our best wins of the season, and with probably two of the smallest lineups we've put out there, and we've finished both games off really well. So there's a question there whether whether the fact that we're playing a smaller lineup, and yeah, I can't take the credit for that. Someone else brought it up in a thread, I think, but whether we're playing the smaller lineup is helping us run out, and then do that with all these tools coming back in, and we probably can't keep playing Allen in the ruck every week, but we also can't play a plus and expect getting away with it. So yeah, really interesting how that played out over the remainder of the season.
The guys that went well at the end of the game were the tools, though.
Morris makes a really good point there on the comments. He's
absolutely,
yeah, agree with that completely.
Yeah. Shout out, ex-infected virus off Big Footy there. But it's funny you say that. Of course we ran the game out better than we have, but it was Kennedy, it was Hearn, it was Barras down the line. Nice pitching in effort from the mids as well, but it was the big boys that stood up. Keys, do we want to just now turn over the next however long and talk about Luke Edwards, or when are we getting to that part? Let's just talk about, we've got midfield depth, seemingly, youth midfield depth for the first time in however long. Cheers for that one, Adelaide. What a fantastic game the kid played. Yeah,
and I think, probably you go back 2 weeks and when he was picked for his debut against Sydney, and his waffle form from the outside of it was solid without being spectacular, I don't think. So it was a bit of a surprise selection against Sydney. Welcome to give the kids a run, but a bit of a surprise. And then I think going into the game against Richmond, it was probably a toss of a coin between him and Xavier O'Neill as to who retained their spot. I wasn't particularly perturbed either way. If they had picked O'Neill, I wouldn't have really cut sick about it. But they pulled the right rein. I won't take credit for it because I think I'm pretty sure I've read it on the board somewhere where people refer to players that when they go up a level, they adjust their game to suit that level.
On cue, look at this comment from Cameron. Some players look better at AFL level for some reason. Edwards may be one of those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Spot on. Great call.
Yeah, so I'll give you the credit for your Cameron. Maybe I read you say it. He just stepped up and maybe because he's got some better players around him and things like that. But, just the pace of the game he just took. I mean, there was a couple. I think there was a passage. I think it was in the last quarter. It might have been in the second quarter where he sort of got the ball under a bit of a heat. He had, I think, Cochin running at him, and he sort of feigned a handball, looked at that, decided that wasn't the right option, moved around Cochin, went around another player, and handballed to Gaff, who unfortunately I think and handballed it to Nelson's ankles, and Nelson actually got caught holding the ball. But that's not on Edwards. That's on Gaff, because Edwards put the ball to Gaff in a decent sort of position. So he just he laid a couple of good tackles. So he just, for a guy who's only 18 or whatever, he looks like a young kid with his dad's football brain already and his experience. You just love to see it. I don't quite know all the
Rod getting a smirk from Keys.
I don't.
Are Cameron and Rod related?
Behind why Adelaide didn't take him as a father-son is, I sort of read some stuff today in terms of the history between the McLeods and Edwards and and Adelaide Footy Club and things like that. It's all a little bit messy, and we don't need to go into the whys and wherefores, but seems like we're the beneficiaries. And the really good thing about all of that is, we picked a sort of a son of a South Australian legend a decade ago in Brad Ebert, and he went back because he wanted to go back to Port Adelaide, which is fair enough. He's had a family history there and things like that. The difference with Edwards is he's not going to want to do that. I mean, he was taken pick 50. I think he wants to make sure he proves Adelaide specifically and other people wrong. So we're going to Jesus dog. We're going to reap the benefit of that for sure.
Big shout out to Mr. KK on Twitch, sometimes on the pod. Hope to have you on soon again, KK. But says, it's amazing how good someone with clean hands and who handballs to advantage looks. Footy, still a simple game sometimes. Migs, we'll finish things up on the Richmond game in just a second, but I'll let you go for your life on this one. Oh, we got a podcast dog. I think I'm the only person without a dog in my room at the moment. So
there we go. Say hello to me.
Look at that.
You hate dogs, don't you? Didn't we learn that you hate dogs?
Must Love Dogs was a documentary about my life, Migs. I'm not having that. Anyway, I'll turn it over to you. We talked about maybe ranking this. Where does this sit in recent wins, home and away wins, all this business? Of course, there's North after the siren, just for semi-recent ones. North after the siren, Giants after the siren, or on the siren, with the Nick Nat ones. There's the Port ones. We've had some pretty memorable wins, some scrappy ones, but where did that sit for you for games that you've seen and just gone, it's really fun to be an Eagles fan sometimes?
Putting aside the finals and the grand finals, I'm not sure there's a game. I don't think there's been a home and away game as good as that. There's some that'll come close, but I would put it probably ahead of any other home and away game I've been at, just from the what it meant for our season, the players that we were missing. The way that it unfolded, the team we were playing, the reaction of the crowd. I don't think that North game came close, and the Giants game in 2016 at Giants Stadium came close. But I don't think anything tops that one.
Cameron says Saints last year. That's one of the scrappy ones I had in mind. There's some big games that have meant a lot for a season or whatever, but that just, I don't know. There was a sense of fun. There was a sense of defiance to it after a few weeks of everybody being a bit flat, and where are we going, and we're circling the drain keys, and then it all came together, and it ranks pretty highly at the very least.
Yeah, I think if once you know without knowing the end result, I think the best win you have is the ones where you come from behind in the last quarter, and you get that momentum, and you get the crowd build up in that last quarter as it looks like the game might be slipping away, and the team rallies and comes back and wins. I think they're the best wins, I think, as a supporter. I mean, they're not great for your heart, but the 06 game against Geelong was great. The other one, the week after that, we basically did almost the same thing against Carlton at Subiaco Road.
Yeah.
And I mean, every now and then I'll catch a bit of the last quarter again, and the crowd noise in that last quarter against Subiaco as we were rolling over the top of them was pretty impressive as well. And I think that it just sort of confirms what I was saying, is that momentum that builds when you come from when the home team comes from behind. There's nothing purer as a supporter. That it just goes bang, and you just get that real surge of emotion.
There was a Dogs game, I think, in '98 where they roared home after a 54-0 start or something like that. Now, I wasn't at that one, but
that was a really weird game. That was like the Dogs kicked 8 goals to none in the first quarter, and we just got we were cooked. And then we got back. We were in front at half time. we basically just did the same to them. And then the game sort of ebbed and flowed a bit after that. I remember back in 1990, maybe 91, we played St Kilda at the Wacker. Probably before you guys were born.
The Troy Ugle game.
Here we go.
The Troy Ugle game where I think Craig Davenport for St Kilda bobbed up out of nowhere and kicked about 4 goals in the first quarter on Ugle. And we were 4 or 5 goals down behind it, 4 or 5 goals behind at quarter time, and came in, and then Ugle kicked, I think, 5 goals in the last quarter. That was that was at a time when we weren't, we hadn't established ourselves as the powerhouse we have now. And it was one of the games, I think, that helped set us on the road to saying that, we're a real football side. So that was a pretty special game. I said at the Wacker, so it wasn't anywhere. It was probably 20-odd thousand people there or something like that. But yeah, that game, I mean, the way the rest of the season pans out will perhaps judge, this game will be judged a little bit differently depending on, if we sort of fall back in a hole, well, the game probably doesn't, we'll probably get lost a little. But if we go on a bit of a tear the next few weeks, we'll be looking at this game and the game before against Carlton as real turning points. So we'll see. But yeah, just really good to beat Richmond. Pricks.
Wasn't it just? Guys, people commenting, we're getting a lot of comments through at the moment, which is fantastic. Keep it up. We're about to go into heroes and villains, so have a think. If you've got a hero, if you've got a villain, submit it here. Share the pod around as well. Tell your mates. Jump on Facebook, jump on Twitter or Twitch, whatever you like. Get involved, and we'll hopefully have a few good submissions for heroes and villains. It seems, Miguel, that Keys has ducked out for a minute, which is dangerous because this is his segment. But I've got an absolute ripper villain, so let's get into it. Heroes and villains time for the week, Migs, and I'll let you lead us off with some villainy. We'll start with that. Did anybody catch your eye this week, knowing full well that I have dibs? Don't you step on this.
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna step on that. The main one I had was Michael Christian, and I think probably Steve Hocking had something to do with it as well. But just completely abdicating any responsibility with that David Mackay decision.
Yeah.
My view of it, when I saw it at the time, and even watching the replays, I thought he's just contesting the ball. He's turning his body to brace for contact at the last minute. It's not. He hasn't really elected to bump. That's a footballing action. I don't think we should be suspending players for footballing actions just based on what the outcome is. But I think at least I've got a view on it. And if you take the other view that he did elect to bump and he left the ground or whatever, that's fine. But Michael Christian, if it's your job to rule on it, fucking do your job, rule on it. Don't pass the buck to the tribunal. Thankfully, the tribunal has made what I think is the correct decision just before we came on air. But yeah, Christian, if you don't want the job, don't take the job. What's the point of you if you're just going to not even grade it? My other nomination was, I can't even remember who it was, but whoever the Richmond player was who decided the best way he was trying to the best way to make it look like he's trying to get rid of the ball while he's being tackled is to just repeatedly punch Redden in the head.
Unreal.
Yeah. And not much came of it really apart from... Yeah, well, he's a hack. He's a hack with 3 premiership, man.
Still a hack, mate. Still a hack. It was Jack Graham. It was Jack Graham. Look at this. Yeah, a lot of support coming through for your call for Christian. Keys, once again, I'm going to reiterate that I've got dibs, but I will throw to you for villainy for anybody that isn't the person I've earmarked. We've had a few on social media as well. Bart had enough of the whinges about how far the kick to JK went. Understandable. They measured it out. 14.5 metres. It's a judgment call. Is it too short? Yes. Is it realistic that somebody would make that call? Yeah. Get over it. And DK on Twitter nominated Brian Taylor for hammering the travel line as it pertains to Richmond. They chose to travel to Sydney in between the game, and now they're talking about how many Ks they've racked up. Keys, pretty shit.
Yeah, I had the whining over the free kick count in my villains. I've put it in my display name. Oh, fuck off, fucker. Jesus.
Oaker's just having a pop, Jesus.
Yeah, just the free kick count. Yeah, we spoke about it. Yeah, just get over it. BT, not for the reason about travel, but there was a passage in the game where a Richmond player, there was a marking contest. I can't remember who. I think maybe one of our guys marked it, and BT was claiming that Bolter got blocked out of the contest, and it should have been a free kick against Darling. And when you watch the replay, Bolter's standing in front of Darling, blocking him out of the contest. I was like, what the fuck are you on about, BT? It's, you're an idiot.
Well, this is like you're getting Richmond fans complaining that Cole...
I'm convinced he doesn't watch. Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't know, and he can't tell... Well, he can't tell Ryan from Rioli. He can't tell Darling from Kennedy. We got Richmond fans whining about Cole blocking out Bolton on the final play. I haven't heard one peep out of anybody but Eagles fans about the two-handed shove in the back from Grimes to Jermaine Jones, which is how they got the ball forward in the first place. But anyway, Keys, bizarre.
Clear free kick. Yeah.
Just whatever.
Also, whilst we're on sort of things tribunal related, Shane Mumford. He is like over the last 20 or 30 years.
Oh no, he's just clumsy.
We basically removed thugs from the game. You don't have the king hits behind play anymore.
Shout out Andrew Gaff,
Gary Hall, and okay, Fremantle supporters. Yeah, Andrew Gaff. Fuck off. But basically, those sort of really thuggy type things are out of the game. If there's one player in the comp now that you could describe as a thug, it's Shane Mumford. I mean, he treads a very, very fine line with the way he tackles and throws his weight around and things like that. In the game against against North, I think it was the young guy, Thomas, that plays for North Melbourne. The whistle blew. It was a Giants free kick. Thomas was running through. He picked up the ball and he started to stop. Mumford's coat hanged him and then put him in a suplex that'd be not out of place in the WWE and smashes him to the ground. Free kick didn't even get reversed. I mean, I go back to the game we played against the Giants where Mumford picked up Brander and body slammed him. That's a dangerous tackle as far as I'm concerned. You pick up a player and you're 120 kilos and you land on him with your full body weight, that's dangerous.
Didn't calculate the weight differential, Keys. You got to do that.
Exactly.
You got to do it. Yeah,
there was another one where he basically missed. He tried to drop his elbow on a North player's head and fortunately missed. But he's just an absolute fucking thug. I can't stand the bloke. And the worst thing about it is the commentators just go, "Oh, he's clumsy. Big. Mummy, look at it. He loves the fuck off, Mumford, out of the league." I can't stand him.
Out of the league. I thought we were him, and then he came back.
I know.
This one is we would normally give our award out to, but we don't want to be sued, so they'll stay in the shed for this one. But Badge, go for it.
Oh, we're doing Rusty Spike time, right? Well, no, we're not. Cameron posted it here. He had this person as his villain of the week as well. So big shout out, Cameron, getting involved in the show today. We love to see that. Villain of the week from Cameron and from myself and from a few people on Twitter as well, Caroline Wilson. Now, all right, we give it to a media member every week, it seems like, more or less. But I feel like we haven't given Caro much attention this year. It's not like I'm, looking at, what was she on, Footy Classified?
She's been for 2 months looking after her daughter's baby.
Well, we'll get to that, won't we? This is not an axe that I have to grind. I've got a bigger axe to grind with Kane Corns, who was involved in this segment, with Tom Brown. There's a shitload of people I hate a lot more than Caroline Wilson. This is not a personal grudge. I don't care about Caroline Wilson. St Kilda lost a terrible loss on the weekend. I think they're up 54-18, something like that. They went goalless for however long. Huge choke job. You love to see it. Seb Ross, Tim Membry, they missed the Saints game. They were both back at home looking after their partners or with their family. I'm not sure the order of this, but one of them, their partner has just had twins. The other one, the partner is pregnant. So, all right, footy players go home, support their family. Pretty normal in this day and age. Usually a non-story. Not a non-story. Caroline Wilson goes on television, says supporters, sponsors, and other teammates would have every right to be a bit disappointed. I must stress, there was no medical problem with the twins, but he felt he had to be with her was another one of the lines. So, I mean, the kids weren't even dying, and the dads wanted to go and see him. You wouldn't bloody read about it. This was the most bizarre personal attack on these footy players. Before we even get to the fact that they brought the sponsors into it, in this day and age, it really should have been the case forever, but your family comes first. And I think we've gotten to a point where most people would agree that your family should be coming first, But apparently not. Apparently footy players can't be family first, so that's one thing. That's disappointing. Secondly, Xavier Ellis made a joke on telly last year about watching the races while his wife was in labour. Caroline Wilson comes down and slams that, says it's a boys' club, says that you've got to show support to your partner. And now where are we? 6 months later, change the tune. And Keys, you brought it up. She's received all this criticism. She said, this is a personal pile-on. People in the media are hypocrites. Why are they piling on to me? She went to Amsterdam this year in April to look after her pregnant daughter, which is fine. Do it. Look after your family. I'm not criticising you for that. But if you've taken time off work 2 months ago to go and look after your family, don't slam footy players and say, they owe an apology to the supporters and to Dare Ice Coffee to go and look after their family. It is bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre. I just didn't understand it. It's become a 3 or 4 day saga. I've been involved in tweeting about it from the podcast account, so that's what they want. They want discussion and they want clicks, but it's bullshit. And Migs, the thing that annoys me in this is the Eagles 2018, friends, family, flags, everyone goes nuts. How good is their culture? They all get around each other. It's so great. They got kids on the ground. They're going, Scoey's leaving to go and look after his kid. Simo's leaving to go and look after his kid. All this sort of stuff. They love it when you're winning. You lose a few games and suddenly, their leaders aren't committed. Everyone's disappointed. Hypocritical from the start to the fucking finish. I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. It was a joke.
Yep. I think that's our winner.
Yeah, Caro Wilson. I'm sorry. Villain of the week.
Yep.
I try not to get on the soapbox too much on this, but bloody hell, that soapboxed me right up. There you go, Keith.
Piggyback onto that a little bit in that without excusing Caro at all, she's been fed that from someone within the footy club at St Kilda, because she doesn't make that up by herself. I mean, I mean, for all her faults, and I can't stand her. You've got to remember that she's got really good sources. She's been in the industry over there a long time. She's well connected. So she's been fed that from someone within the footy club at St Kilda. Then she's aired those on whatever night it was, Monday night, I think. St Kilda basically let it run for best part of 24 hours before they came out and said anything. I would have thought if that was us, if that was our club, I would have been expecting the club to come out the next morning and say, this is a complete heap of bullshit. We don't support. We support everything the players have done, and they would have backed the players to the hilt straight up. And even the statement that St Kilda put out was still pretty wishy-washy. So, as much as I don't like what Caro, she wasn't acting on her own as a lone wolf there. I think the St Kilda Footy Club need to look at who within the club has gone to her and made their feelings known about something that really shouldn't even be questioned. I mean, we forget that over here in Perth, we forget that Victoria's still in the throes of a lockdown, and they're going and they've had all sorts of they've had way worse than what we had. So you can imagine, a young mother with twin kids that are 5 or 6 weeks old. That's hard. That's hard. I mean, and she's over there, and he doesn't quite know when you might be coming back and things like that. And and lockdowns and travelling between states is not as easy as it normally is. You've got to take into account the fact if you go somewhere and you
might be stuck there.
You may not be able to get back. Yeah. And to just ignore all that and then just say, it's bad. You should put the footy club first. Fuck off. Families first. That's how it is. That's how all the club. I mean, in the days leading up to our game against Richmond, there was talk that Cotchin might not come across because he had some family issues. Richmond was straight out. They were saying pretty well, I hate Richmond. I reckon a bunch of dickheads. I've said that earlier already. But they were straight up said, if Cotchin has to stay behind, he has our blessing. It wasn't even something that was being questioned. So, yep.
Two of their guys didn't go up to the hub, one of the hubs last year.
Last time, yeah. Yep.
So Kilda on the podium next to her.
Good. Caro, St Kilda, you equal parts responsible. You can equally get stuffed. Hero nominations, I'll keep it short and sweet for me, and I'm going to echo a lot of people that wrote in about the Adelaide Footy Club. Cheers for that, boys. Got Luke Edwards, 2-gamer. He already looks like a 200-gamer, so happy with that one. Migs, who made you happy this week? Where does it even start? Good week for the Eagles.
Plenty of guys. Nick Nat for having a 100% captaincy record, and I don't know, maybe we should just give him the job full time. Sorry, Shuey. Plenty of guys from Sunday night that we could give it to. One from outside of footy that I had. Everyone involved in that the medical emergency in the Euro game between Denmark and Finland. That was a pretty horrible situation, but a lot of people there really stepped up in a big way and probably helped save the bloke's life. So well done to everyone there.
Don't do actual heartfelt real heroes, Migs, because now I have to give it to them. But I want to just want to talk about how good Nick Nat is. Keys, anybody make you happy this week?
Optus and the crowd on Sunday night. Yep, brilliant. Stadium is the best in the country. Doesn't have the biggest capacity, but it's the best stadium in the country. It's not even a contest anymore. Wildcats. How many finals is that? 10 of the last 15 years or something like that. Lost their best player, still made it through. Came from 1-0 down and knocked over Illawarra. So well done to the Wildcats. I think they're going to be up against Melbourne, unfortunately. But, making it to the final, big effort from them as well. But, so I don't know. The team or Optus as hero of the week?
I like the crowd. I reckon we give it to the crowd. They stepped up. They showed out. 50,000 on a bullshit slot. Sunday, 20 past 5. Showed out. They got their reward. Optus crowd, come on down.
And I think plenty of Simpson, plenty of players all made mention of the crowd and how it helped them too. So, yeah. I wasn't there.
Way to go.
So, crowd, you guys were. Good on you.
Nice work, Migs. Nicely done. We're running a little bit long on this one, so let's slam through some stuff here. We've got a bit of a mid-season review to go, but it's an awkward one because we're not really at the halfway point of the season, and it's also a season, guys, that's had a lot of ups and downs already. We've, beaten Port. Everything's happy days. We're going to win the flag. We're unbeatable at home. Suddenly, 5-6 weeks later, we're shocking. We're never going to win on the road, and we can't even win at home anymore. It's all gone balls up. Migs, let's just take stock of what we've seen, I think, and we'll go through a little segment by segment here. We'll start off with which player has impressed us the most, and, what are we through, 13 games, something like that? Who at this point, Miguel, do you think is going to be leading the club's BNF when they're doing the count up to round 13?
It's probably Nick Nat again, I think. Having won last year, he's obviously a vote polar. He's played every game. He's led from the front in a lot of those big wins. Tim Kelly probably was leading it before he got injured. Tom Barras might be a bit of a sneaky one. He's done some big jobs. Really stood up recently in the absence of Gov. Yeah, they're probably the top three. Who else? Darling's been up and down a bit. Gaff was quiet early. Sheed's been all right. Redden might be another sneaky one.
Yeah, I've got Nick Nat and TB here as my leaders. Keys, it's probably going to be a similar answer for yourself, I suspect. Don't let me put words in your mouth. But away from the BNF, who has, if it was just your call and you don't think it's the coaches voting, if it was just your call, who do you think's been our best to date?
I think consistency-wise, I think Nat Nui. I think it's important to note the way our best and fairest is voted on. It rewards games played. So I actually looked it up during the week just to make sure of how it's done and changed it a little bit when Simo came in. Basically, the match committee give 3, 2, 1, 0 to every player that played. So, if you have a really shit game, obviously you get 0. If you have a good game, you get 3. And then 1 or 2, depending on if you have a kind of okay game or a pretty good game. So basically, the more games you play, the more chance you get to go. So, guys that miss a lot of footy, you pretty much rule them out. So guys like Nat Nui, Tommy Brass has missed just the one game so far, so he'd be in the mix. And I reckon Redden's a sneaky chance because although he hasn't been a standout in any games, I think he's been pretty solid. So he'd be getting, he's probably getting 1s and 2s most weeks.
Okay.
He's played every game, so he'd be in amongst it as well. So it'd be those 3, I think, have probably been the 3 most consistent, I would have thought. So, but yeah, Nat Nui for mine. I think he's been the one that's driving us, and I think he's the leading player for us in the Coaches Award from memory. JD.
Oh, he absolutely is. AFLCA, he absolutely is leading us.
JD, I think he's had some good games.
Still doesn't take enough marks.
He's had some JD's had some lots of good marks, lots of good games where he's been a bit quiet. So right now, I'd be surprised if Naitanui wasn't leading it this minute.
Next up, we're going to talk biggest improver. So if you've got someone that you think has been the biggest improver for the Eagles, comments, same deal. Let us know why. A couple of names I think are going to be popular in this one. Miggs, I'll let you lead us off as well. Who do you think has shot up and really taken hold of 2021?
Rotham continued his development. He played, I think, 10 games last year. This year he's just about locked into that back line, leading the league in marks. Yeah, he was the first name that came up for me. Jermaine Jones. We didn't really get to see him properly last year. He's now showing Geelong were nuts to let him go, even if the match committee keep dropping him to sub. And probably Jared Brander before he got injured was the other one. He looked like he'd locked in that spot on the wing. Able to find the ball a bit. Looked to have grown a lot in confidence, and of course now he's injured again, and he'll have to work his way back. And I think he's been named in the waffle this week, so he might have to work his way back through the waffle now. But yeah, they were the three for me.
Keys, I was gonna say Brander. We'll talk about Oscar Allen as well, I think, in a moment. But yeah, Infected Virus has just put this one through on Twitch, and I'm gonna echo that as well. Petruccelli, he really showed me. I was wrong on him. Cop to that now. I didn't really think he understood football. I thought he was a great athlete, obviously very quick and straight line, but didn't take the right angles, couldn't tackle, couldn't read the game, couldn't crumb. Suddenly he looks like genuinely dangerous crumbing forward and bobbing up for valuable goals, kicking bags in games. So, definitely Petruccelli's made the most of his opportunities. Hopefully he can, really start getting involved shortly. Anybody for you that stood up this year?
Yeah, Pet was the one I was, I was thinking of that for exactly that. I think Brando's the one as well. He's sort of cemented himself in the side. I think a couple of people have mentioned Aussie. I think he's improved, but I think his improvement this year has sort of been linear from seasons gone by. So it hasn't necessarily been a jump. It's just been a steady progression where I think Brander and Petruccelli have sort of moved their games up to a better level. Jones has been good, and I think Harry Edwards. I saw his name come up there as well, and I think he's sort of had someone we've had sitting on ice for a couple of years while he sort of learns his craft and everything like that. And when he's come in, and just from his first game this year to the game he played against Richmond on Friday night, you can see that improvement just in those games. And I actually saw there's actually a thing with David King and some other plonker from Herald Sun, like on a little video thing, and they go over the games, and I caught a bit of that, and the guy made a really good point about West Coast and their defence and how Harry Edwards was a rookie listed player, McGovern was a rookie, Tom Barras was picked 40-something, Roth was 37, Delson was in the 50s, Cole was 30-something, Foley was 30-something, and he sort of made the comment, he said our defence has been largely built on guys with lowish sort of draft picks that we get them in and we build, develop them and work them into our system, and they, we just got this little sort of production line of defenders, and particularly key defenders. And Harry Edwards is just the next in a really from way back from the days of Monkey Brennan and Jakovic and McIntosh. We've always had, you go through. We had Glass and Hunter and McKenzie and McGovern, Mabrass, and now we've got Edwards. It's just one thing we'd never have a trouble finding is a good key defender.
Miggs, Rod here is asking if Edwards keeps performing, Luke Edwards this is, does that mean Brander's out of a spot? Certainly not a bad position to be in, because it's funny, we were all lamenting the depth and where things are at, but when we start to talk about biggest improvers and, nice silver linings on the start of the season, it's a lot of the youth that is continually coming up.
Yeah, and it's a good thing we're not doing podcasts because they're going to be really difficult. Yeah, there's a wave of guys coming back for the Bulldogs game, and too many guys out of that 22 against Richmond that you'd say, they probably should be squeezed out of the side. So it's going to be a really really difficult job for the match committee, but yeah, good problem to have. And looking like we've got a lot more depth than we thought. Not sure, just to answer Rod's question, though, I'm not sure Edwards and Brander are going to be playing the same position. I think Duggan returning might be the one that kept Brander out of it for a bit. I think they've sort of played that wing role.
Yeah, and Sally on Periscope here on Twitter just jumping in and saying, how did you rate Duggan's stint in the midfield? I think if we're getting to a point now where we're starting to get hopefully Shuey back through the waffle this week and Yo's back, Kelly hopefully on the mend, this sort of thing, I think it'll be over. But it's nice to have in a bit of a, break the glass in case of emergency. But for me, he's pretty poised, pretty dangerous off the back line. And the idea of having him kicking, Foley kicking as well, Hearn back to his best, that's what I want off half back.
I think we've seen that Duggan's best position is half back. It's nice to have that in your back pocket that if need be, we can swing up to the midfield, but with a full complement of mids to pick from, Duggan's better suited on half back.
Keys, I'll keep it with you and we'll flip it from biggest improvement as it seems like Miggs has just dropped his laptop there. What's going on there, Miggs?
Yeah, it's okay. Caught it on the first bounce.
One hand, one bounce on the laptop. That'll be good for the warranty. Keys, biggest disappointment. Let's flip it around. Who did you come in expecting a lot from that maybe we haven't quite seen enough of yet?
Yeah, it's hard. This is where you're sort of marking people a bit harshly, but I think Cripps. Probably he hasn't hit. He's had some good games, but consistently, I don't think he's been as big an impact as what he has in prior years. At a time when we've needed our experienced players to step up, and I'll put Gaff in the same. I mean, Gaff's he's had some good games, but he's had some, particularly early, he's had some stinkers as well. So those two guys have been from their standards. I'll throw McGovern in there as well. He's a victim of his own super high standards, but the games he has played, I don't think he's been as good as he's been in the past. I just noticed the virus sort of threw up Nelson's name. I'm not so sure about that. I reckon Nelson's a bit of a popular one for fans to have a crack at. I don't know that he's as bad as what some people have critiquing him for. I actually had. A common thing with him is he keeps getting caught holding the ball all the time. He's actually given away 3 free kicks this year total.
Yeah.
So if you're getting caught with holding the ball all the time, there's some, and I reckon there's times where, and I sort of mentioned the passenger play earlier where he got caught. He actually did get caught holding the ball. That was because Gaff gave him a fucking stinker of a handball at his ankles, and I reckon. I know there was some criticism of how Martin got loose through the middle of the ground late in that game and had that shot at goal. I think Nelson and Cole's the other one that sometimes seems to get a lot of criticisms as well. I'm just going to refer back to the Richmond game. They didn't get a lot of the footy and things like that. I didn't see the Richmond small forwards really have that big an influence on the game, like the likes of Castagna and Bolton.
No.
Even and you touched on it before, Badge. Martin's going to impact the game, because he's the best player in the competition. He didn't have nearly the impact in the game against us that he did against Essendon. Not even close. So, you know, I think, Nelson might be a bit of a popular one, but I wouldn't be putting him in it as a guy who's coming into the season was always going to be fringe best 22. And when we get some of those guys back, Nelson might get squeezed out of the side, but that's his lot in life. He's sort of just in or just out of the best 22. But it's guys like McGovern and Cripps and Gaff that I think that we probably wanted a little bit more from and didn't quite get what we wanted to.
Just a quick word on Nelson from me, and I'll keep it quick because I do like him and I find myself going into bat for him a fair bit, probably more than I like him, but I just think he cops a lot. He is a good user by foot. I don't know where this thing's come from that he's a butcher. He had a shocking turnover against Carlton, but that was early in the fourth, and then after that point, he had about 4 or 5 fantastic kicks in the same term. So, I don't know. Maybe burns 1 or 2 a game, if that. But, yeah, I don't think he's a butcher. But as Keith said, look, it's all about expectation coming in versus what we've seen. And if you're in a spot where a Tom Cole or a Jackson Nelson is needed when guys are injured, and we've had a shitload of injuries, I think that's a pretty good spot to be. If we can afford to drop Nelson because we're healthy and maybe Foley comes even better and, Rotham's taken a step up, like Mig said. Good spot to be. No issue with that. Migs, a couple from me, and this is based on expectation versus performance. Shep, I've found a little bit quiet this year. Certainly not as good as his peak, but I don't know. I've just found him not imposing himself on games like I know that he can. Now, some of that might be the support cast. He's been stitched up a little bit, having to play a true key lockdown role. And also Liam Ryan. A big game here, a big game there, certainly still sitting on shoulders, providing all the highlights. But I found he's fading in and out, whereas last year he was just the best small forward in football, full stop.
Yeah, Ryan was the first name that came to mind for me. And it's a little bit unfair because I think a lot of it's been caused by his shin splint or the hotspot issue that he's had. But yeah, we were sort of expecting him to continue his stratospheric rise, and he's been in and out of games. Yeah, he does still sit on blokes' heads and has great highlights, and he is a player that can turn a game with limited possession. So it's a really unfair criticism of him, probably. But yeah, he was the name that first name that came to mind for me, and Shep was the second. Yeah, I had the same observations as you, and Jack Darling over the last month or so, because he was up there in the Coleman race earlier. But then his last month, 4 weeks, he's only kicked 3 goals. Before that, I think he'd kicked 26 goals in 9 games. And just another little stat to prove that I did some homework. He's kicked goals in 4 of his last 20 quarters of footy he's played. One of those was his 5-goal quarter against Adelaide. But yeah, so defenders are getting a hold of him, I think. So yeah, we need to get back that Jack Darling from 2018 again. We only see him in little stints.
The next one we've got here is best win, and this is something we had on the run sheet, and then the Richmond game happened. So I think we can all agree that it's the Richmond game. Keys, am I throwing to you? Oh, who we got? We got another dog on the pod. What do we got here?
No.
Oh, we've got more guests than we've ever had. We've had 2 dogs.
21.
We've had kids. We've had dogs. We got a big happy birthday shout out here from the Big Footy Eagles pod. We got any Eagles insight coming from the guest side of thing there, Keys, or it's one and done?
Sorry, what was that?
I got to go the Eagles. That's all I needed. That's all good. Keys, we're talking best win.
Hey, Eagles.
There we go.
Yeah, okay, so...
Premium content. You're getting this for free. If you're watching this for free, you should, honestly, send us a couple of bucks. Keys, best win. It's the Richmond game, then it's daylight. What else can we talk about behind that, though? What else stood out?
We spoke about the Richmond win plenty.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that's narrowly followed by the win against Carlton the week before.
Okay.
wasn't the sort of same sort of sexy win as what Richmond was. It was a bit of a grind and things like that. But in the context of our season, that was really important. We don't win that game, and the win against Richmond becomes not irrelevant. But I think that was just to get our confidence and the mojo. It was at a ground that we historically suck at, even though it wasn't, Sydney that we were playing. It was just something that we needed to win. We got it done with a few guys out. Derby's always a good win.
A couple of people coming through here for the Derby, yep.
Yeah, a couple of ones. But I reckon, Richmond, and then I reckon the Carlton win was a close second for me.
Miggs, anything else stand out aside, of course, from the Richmond game?
I had, second place Carlton game and the Port game, just because I thought that was the biggest, probably apart from Richmond, and certainly on the ladder, the biggest opponent that we've knocked off, and just the way that we did it as well. Did it pretty comfortably, took our foot off the gas a little bit. Otherwise, could have had a 10 or 11 goal win. But probably Carlton aids that up because all the odds that were against us that game, the number of outs we had, and the venue being at a ground that we hadn't won at for 20 years.
Surely a win for Carlton.
I didn't even think of it just because Trio was so bad. But
the old 10-goal Derby win completely slips your mind. I'm not going to lie, slipped my mind as well. So thank you for the people in the comments there that remind me of that. Port win was fantastic, of course. Showed that we can hang with the big boys, and I think we're starting to get back to that hopefully now. Get a few healthy guys back as well, see what we do against the Dogs. Keys, we'll go the other side of it. We'll finish things off on the review. Worst loss. The easy one would be Geelong because of the size of it. For me, it's the St Kilda loss just because you cannot be dropping that game. And if you look at our ladder position, if we'd won that game, we would be laughing right now. So anyway, where do you go with this?
Yeah, it's an odd thing to say where a 97-point belting wasn't your worst loss, but it wasn't. We had a lot of outs. I mean, the margin was bad, but I think in the context of our season, I think you look at the games against St Kilda and Essendon where we had good leads in both of those games and then dropped them. They were really, really bad in that. In particularly in both games in the last quarter, we did not give a yelp. We got steamrolled, and I think if you look at the St Kilda game in particular, I mean they've been trash, absolute trash this year, and we got beaten by them. Essendon won. At least they've been playing. When we played them, they've been playing some bit better footy around it. But it was on our home deck as well. I mean those two, and you look at where we sit. We're 8-5, and we're a game out of top 4 on percentage. You turn those two results around, and we're 10-3, and we're looking really fucking good. So, I mean, I think probably the St Kilda one is just a bit worse than Essendon simply because before and after that game, St Kilda got fucking walloped. And we rolled over like a newborn puppy wanting a tummy rub. The St Kilda one closely followed by Essendon for me.
Becoming your new
slap it on a t-shirt. Miggs, anything to add there? Essendon lost shocking, St Kilda lost shocking. Do those two take the cake for you?
Yeah, I thought the St Kilda game, the Geelong one, the manner of it was bad and the percentage hit we took was bad, but we probably penciled in a loss there anyway, so we didn't miss out on 4 points that we would have otherwise had. Between St Kilda and Essendon, and I'd go for St Kilda over Essendon as the worst one just because of the way it happened, and there's no real excuses for it. It was against a poor opponent. the Essendon one sucked, but part of it was to do with the fact that I think we lost a couple of key guys, Kelly and Allen, before half time, and that sort of just left us without any legs. But the St Kilda one was just a complete shitting of the bed, and those losses though, they did make the Richmond win even better, because it was just to come out and put in that sort of performance in the last 15 minutes.
I see,
wonder which one infected virus is actually giving us a loss. Probably Geelong, I suppose.
Must be nice.
Ideal world would be 13 zip, but I think
we haven't once lost. That was bad as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, sorry. The losses against the Bulldogs and the Giants.
That's a loss. You'll get those. That'll happen.
I don't think in either of those games we played particularly badly.
Yeah.
Especially the Bulldogs. I mean, Bulldogs are a good side. To lose by 7 points to them over there.
That one stings because you go, oh, what about the Crips miss? But the actual game itself, and all right, you lose by 7 points. Are they first? They're still top of the ladder? Or are they second? I don't know where they're at anymore. But it's all right. That happens.
You go, we put in the Giants one,
happens.
But yeah, those two losses, you wear those as something that happens during the season. But yeah, the other two that we've been harping on, they're the ones that really hurt, because I think those games we should have won.
This is why you don't bitch and moan about percentage when you knock off undefeated Port Adelaide or whatever it was, because you're always going to do something stupider than not win by 100 points against the league leaders. So anyway, we'll move on. In fact, I reckon we'll wrap things up, Jets. I reckon we've gone probably a little long today, but that's all right. It was a party, a bit of a celebration against Richmond. Migs, you were at the game. You enjoyed your time there, and I hope that you enjoyed your time today as well on the pod.
Yep. Still excited, as I said. And, yeah, look, I'll just tilt the camera down so you can see how excited I am.
Uh-oh. No, I don't know where that's going.
Probably don't want that.
No, thank you.
And coming up this weekend, the Beagles play Subi. So no AFL footy on in Perth, so no excuse not to get down to playing Leederville Oval, I suppose. Or otherwise you can watch the live stream with God. You probably want to head down to Leederville, I think. There we go. Get down to Waffle, see Shuey coming back. Hopefully he's all good. Keys, thank you for jumping on the show. A few F-bombs in there, so good day to all the loyal listeners that hate that one, but nicely done, nicely navigated. How'd you go? Yeah, no, good fun. I'm about a quarter of the way through my tally from Sunday night. So, yeah, good win, good chat. Let's hope we're next week we won't be talking about a win or a loss because it's a bye. But yeah, we'll look forward to how the match confetti fits all these guys back. And geez, let's hope for Christ's sake, should we get through the game against Subi? Don't even. Guys, thank you very much for watching. And if you're listening to this in the future, thank you for listening. People who commented, jumped in, fantastic stuff. Gives us a lot to talk about. We really appreciate the feedback and the ongoing chat as well. So thank you very much from all of us. If you're liking the pod, please share it. I know it's a bit beggy and a bit, we're asking for rate and subscribe and all that good stuff. Share it around, because it does help the show grow, and it'd be great to see the live audience pick up as well, get a lot of involvement throughout the show. We'll leave it there. We'll see you next week. We've got more guests. We're waving goodbye. We will talk to you next week. We'll do second half of the season predictions. We'll talk the Bulldogs game. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.